Okay, so we're doing part two of our Unit 1 dice roller example. We're going to do this one in Kotlin. So again, in Kotlin, this is part of a full collab, a full tutorial from Google, which is really nice. This is part of a longer pathway called Android Basics with Compose. It's a learning pathway, a number of units. So there's just one unit here. So I'm going to click on that, and that'll bring up this area. And again, you might want to log in so then they'll keep track to kind of where you are and stuff like that for it. So this is the app we're going to write. It's a roll button. And rather than just displaying a number, we're going to display an image. So it'll be a little different here. So again, we're going to get started. We're going to select a new activity, an empty activity, not one with views, and we're going to do it in Kotlin. So let's do this. So I'm going to do a new project. So I have an existing project open. I'm just going to do a new project here. Now, sometimes I find it easier to close that project, but dice roller, Kotlin, record. So again, make sure your package name is unique here. And again, all this stuff, where it's saving it should be fine. Android 10 will almost always just use that and leave this configuration. So we hit finish and build that. Now, it's going to start up a separate version. So I have two copies of Android Studio running. So I'm actually going to close this, the Java one, so I don't get confused. That's why I find it sometimes helpful to actually go and close one. So when you're in one project and before you create a new one, sometimes it's helpful, I think, just to close. Because again, you're going to have to close it anyway because it opens the new one in a new window. Okay, so it's still compiling here. We're still in project view, but in my device manager, I have my Pixel 3 and the emulator is still running already. So it should keep the emulator running as I switch between projects and all that sort of stuff for this. Okay, so let's go back to the tutorial. We've done this, we've done that. It starts by just displaying a simple hello world app here. So again, if I run this in my emulator, it'll say hello world. Now notice now it has finished compiling when I'm building it again, but it switched to Android view because it did initial build. And again, there's two main files here. In Java, there's this main activity.kotlin, and under, I guess there's just one, because under resources now, there isn't a layout. Now, there is a drawable folder and a values folder. We'll look at stuff in there, so eventually we'll look at some of these things. But the layout is all going to be done in this Kotlin area. So again, and the first time you run it, it's going to take a while. So it's been compiling and running it, and now it's going to display my hello world there. Okay. Now, how does this work? So in Kotlin, we have a bunch of import statements here, our package at the top, and then our main activity class. And in there is onCreate function, and in that is our code. We have a theme, and that is actually defined here, and you generally don't want to change the theme. It's already built into this, and we'll see if we talk about themes later on, but you can just leave the theme alone. This thing then has a scaffold and then a greeting here. Now, what is this greeting here? This is this function down here, this widget. So we defined a greeting widget. Function greeting, we pass in a name and we say hello that name. So it says hello Android, so that's why it said hello Android here. If I want to say hello Tom, I can change that thing and then rerun this and it'll say hello Tom. So it's passing in, calling greeting and passing in. Now remember in Kotlin we have name parameters, so for each parameter we have to say the name of the parameter and equals and its value for this. Now there's these modifiers and we'll see those in a little bit as far as padding and stuff. We'll see those. So for now just put in the modifier code and don't worry about it too much there. So again, and there's also this greeting preview here. This is what shows, so again, there's two different views in here. There's the preview mode for this, And then there's the code mode, and you can actually run them both again side by side. And this is one place where you might want to be doing that. I'm going to zoom out here a little bit for this. So I'm actually running emulate. So the preview is like a quick update or a quick view of this without having to rebuild everything. So as we're defining the layout, this will help us see how it's changing in different ways for this. So the preview, the greeting is it calls greeting with Android. So again, because the preview doesn't have any doesn't have any a key, is not, it's just a preview, a simple preview. I changed it to Tom, and then again, relatively quickly, it updated it to Tom here and called that. So greeting preview called greeting. Now also notice that there's these composable, there's these at commands here. And again, we're using Android Compose, which is the layout editor. That's why like this course is called Andrew Basics with Compose. So Compose is their UI library that is set up here. And in order to call greeting, like from up here, it has to be a composable function. And same with greeting preview. And again, since this is a preview, we have to mark it as a preview. But we're going to get rid of these. So let's go into our tutorial. So we're going to replace them with these two apps or functions. So we're going to just get rid of those. So here's now our preview is on top, our dice roller app here, and our dice roller here. And so what we're going to want to do now is call this method up here. So we got rid of greeting. I'm going to put this up here and put that in here. I'm actually going to replace the scaffolding too, I think, and just put it up there. I'm also going to put it in this preview so that the preview will render it also for this stuff. Now let's see if we can just do a quick. So I just this is our dice with button and image, and for now I just put in quick text here, just say text, and then the text is this is a test, and the preview shows it. Now this doesn't, but if I rerun this, because the main activity on create is calling this, it should show that same thing. It shows this is a test over there. Yep, way up at the top. So I'm not doing any centering and stuff. We'll talk about that in a sec. So that's this. So let's see. They define those. They called this from onCreate inside our theme. Inside the app, the preview app, they called it also for that. Oh, they're actually calling the app from here. Let's do that. So rather than calling both of these calling here, we'll call the app, the preview app. So then we're guaranteed to whatever's in the preview should be displayed. So we're calling the preview the main app, and then that's calling our widget to display our text. I like that. Okay, now we're going to add some modifiers, and for now let's just put in this code and not worry too much about it here. So in this, our main function here, we're going to add a modifier, and this will let us set attributes to like the text. So for example, if the text, we want to do some centering, we can do something like dot center. I don't know. We'll have to look. I don't remember the modifiers exactly off the top of my head right now, but we'll see those in just a sec. Okay, so and then again, when we call these, we'll pass in the modifiers. So when we call this here, we'll pass in the modifier for that. And I think, yeah. So now when we call this stuff in like the main activity, we can do things like dice with buttons and image. So when we're calling it here, we should be able to add some modifiers. I think they want. So I think, I don't know if they showed this. I think we want this here and here also. Okay, I was confused. So we just want the modifier here, and we want to do our modifying here, not up in here. We're just going to call the app, and we're going to do all the modifications in the app, and that'll modify both in the preview version and in the main activity. So that's why we want to make sure we just do the modifiers here. So again, we can call dice, call this widget dice with button and image, and we can say fill the whole screen. We can add other modifiers here, so they say like center it as far as wrap content goes. We can center it. They're suggesting padding there. Now, sometimes you'll have to do some imports here, so I can hit Alt-Enter and import that. Now, again, by default, usually the top one is the correct one, and it is the compose one. We always try to look and see if you're going to select the compose one. Same here, Alt-Enter and import that. So again, those are sticking them up here in our imports section for us. So again, we're doing a max fill and centering them. So again, this is showing it here, and if we run this, it should be centering this text once we get it there also. Okay, there it should be centered up here now. Oops, it's not. Oh, okay. Oh, I see the, yeah. Because I'm not applying the modifiers to this text. We'll see that in just a sec. Okay, so let's start working with our layout and going on. We're going to create a column. We're going to want, so again, there's rows and columns in the layout. So we're going to create a column and stack things up here. So I'm going to add a column to this. So again, in here, rather than text, I could just be doing column here. For this. And again, I'm actually just going to grab this code and put that in here. So again, we are taking the modifiers that are passed in and adding them to the column. And then we're also centering things horizontally here. And again, this brace is where we'll put the items inside our column for that. So what items are, we're going to add a button. So again, here's our button. We'll add that inside here, button, on click. Again, we have to do our import, Alt-Enter, bring that in here. So now let's talk about string resources. Now, for text, I could just be putting in the word role here. So again, I could just type in role, and that would work fine in English. But if we want to international or localize this to multiple different languages, we want to store this in a string file. So in all of these, and they're introducing this right away here. So they're putting this in here, and the input statement here, and then I don't even tell you. Again, when we extract this, we'll get that. So right now, if I look, there's this string under resources value strings. There's this list of strings that are all in English by default, and it just has the name of the app. But now I'm going to extract, I'm going to do Alt-Enter and say create a string valued resource role. So what text do I want it to say? I want it to say role, because that's what the button will say. So it'll be displaying that and create that. So now it's added role, a string called role with the capital R and with the lowercase r, and the actual string is capital R role. So it's added that here, yeah, oops, and I should have saved that. I don't think I've imported this yet. Yeah, I forgot to import string resource there. So now it is going and getting the string from here. So whatever is in that string, and what that'll let us do is we can have different files. So we'll have files for multiple different languages, and it'll automatically substitute them in our program. Okay, so that's the string that they're doing here. So again, when I look at this, I'll run this, it should just have the button on it now. And I'm going to zoom out here. There, so I can see it a little bit. Let's make this a little smaller. Okay, so here's my preview, and here's the actual thing. It just has a roll button here. Okay, so now I'm going to add an image. So again, at the top, I want an image of the dice here. And again, they do a lot of work. So we've got to download a bunch of images, and in here, if I look in this folder, in my drawable folder, like I have some images here for things. I'm going to add my dice images to this drawable folder. So I've got to download these. I'm going to click here, download these images. Save those. I'm going to go extract those images. So go to the file folder, right click on them, or have zip7 or whatever, extract them in the folder. So I've already done that there. And now I'm going to import. So I've unpacked them. Now I'm going to import them here to my resource or import manager. Now you can view the resource manager. So if I go up to tools, resource manager, it'll add the resource manager over here, and under drawables there's different resources. I can add one, I can add a drawable resource, and I can import let's see, I'm going to import. I just clicked on that. I want to import the drawables because then I can import a whole folder. So again, I go out to my downloads folder, go to dice images, and I'm going to import all of these. So it will add these dice to my drawable folder here, these dice images. So now, once I have that in here, yeah, I should see, well, let's just assume they're there. I've imported all those dice. And so we can refer to these dice, these images, using r.drawable.dice1. So r for resource.drawable.dice1 there will be it here. So now we're going to add our image to our item here. So again, where we have our column, we have a button. We're going to add an image above that. So here's our button. We're going to want an image above this. We want to import that. And bring that in here. And so inside our image, we're going to create or display one of these images. So here's our image. We're going to do this inside of that. And again, often we are going to spread this over multiple. Let's see if I can. Lines like that. So I have a painter that paints it for that. So now it should display the image up here. If I wait for a sec, the preview should run. Oops, painter resource. Yeah, I need to do that. Import. Okay. I'm missing, I think I have to have this content description also. So image, the painter, and the content description, and import that. Oh, yeah. And actually, this is an image. These are parameters, not, I thought I was, so that's what you're going to get confused in sometimes. So sometimes we're going to have these modifiers which don't need commas. They're just chained together method calls, dot this, dot this, dot this. And sometimes we're going to be working with parameters. So here, this thing has multiple optional parameters. So one is the image has the painter, and it also has this content thing. So then I do need the comma between those stuff. So now I think this would run. So if I run this, now it should show that also up here. I'm surprised it hasn't updated that display yet. Let's see how my build is looking. So again, sometimes when we're bringing in new images and stuff like that, I think the preview might get confused at first because we imported those. Because again, it's taking a while to bring in those images. And we'll talk more about, we'll see if we have a chance to talk more about images and the different resolution of images here. And then we're going to add a spacer in here in just a sec for this panel. So, because let's see if this is still running. So eventually we'll stick in, we have our image and our button, and we'll put a space between those items. Okay, let's see if this is going to work. Yep, so now we've updated this here, and this is how it looks on the phone. They're a little close to each other, so we're going to add a spacer in between those. Let's import this. Oops. Okay. So now it's added that little space in here. I don't know if you saw that jump. So now let's actually roll the dice here. So again, when we said click on something, we're not actually doing anything. Here's our logic for clicking is just this code, say, to do it later on. So when we click on this button, it doesn't do anything. So we want it to display an image here for this. So we can just have it display one of the images for this stuff. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a variable to keep track of the random number here, and we're going to stick that up at the top here. So above our column, we're going to declare this result variable, and it's var. Now we'll have to modify that in a sec, but we are. And then we're going to set that to a random number. When we click on it, we're going to set that to a random number here. So in here, our button click, we're going to set that to a random number. So this is a quick way of doing random numbers. Say 1.6.random. So Kotlin, like Python, has like a list or a iteration of numbers, of integers, and then they have different functions that'll run on that. So this will give us a random number in that list that we have here for this. And then so here they're just displaying a text with that value here. Let's see, but oh yeah, that's what we're doing here. We're just also setting that up. So that stays. Okay. So when we run this here, and roll it, it should pick a random number, but now we're not displaying that. It's just picking the random number here. So now we want to display that random number. So we're going to want to add this image resource value, and given the result, we're going to grab one of these. If the result's 1, we're going to grab dice 1, dice 2, dice 3, or whatever there. So this is just a kind of a different way of saying, like almost what you might say a switch or case statement here. So I'm going to want that in here. So let's put that in here. And again, sometimes with this, it's not entirely clear where these should be in the main activity for these. But generally, these code labs will have a final solution. So if you go down here and open up this GitHub project, here it is. You can go into app, main, source, Java, and find the main activity there and see. And that'll show me, so here's my result, here's my image source, and I'm putting that in here before the column because it is just a variable. So if sometimes you're confused about where these should be, I can stick it in there like that for this. So again, going back to our example here, and now we're putting in our image resource for our painter. So our painter is just going to, where's our painter? Not just going to show dice 1, but image resource, which will pick the right dice value here. Now, I think we have to make this so that it updates itself. So when we roll things automatically, it will fix that. Let's see. Yeah, I missed that start. So again, right now, we'll roll this, we won't update, and then we will update this result, but that doesn't kick off a redraw of the interface, doesn't update the images and tell the app or compose to redraw things. So we've got to work on this. So we'll talk more about this state stuff and these remember and compose and mutable state of, but for now, let's just say we're going to want to have this variable a state variable. So rather than just saying result 1, we're going to have to say this variable result 1 by, and then again, we've got to import remember, and we have to import mutable state of. So what that does is tie in some stuff to result so that anytime we change result, it will check our code and see where result is being used and update, refresh the screen. So now, with that set, I think we should be rolling dice now. Okay, so let's talk about Gemini and how some of this stuff works here too, because again, now I'm getting an error problem when I build. So I'm down in my build settings and I'm seeing my problems here for this, or under the build menu. I see that. Now, I'm going to add this Ask Gemini. So Gemini is over here. So I'm going to say Ask Gemini about this error. So I'm going to ask Gemini. And what it's going to do is tie in Gemini. Oh, yeah. But when you first run this, I didn't think I'd run it on this computer yet, but apparently I had. When you first run this, and I'll show this in the thing, it will ask you to tie into your Gemini login, and so you can log into CSS with your my tgiven css.edu address and tie Gemini into that, and then also tell Gemini to get that it can have access to your whole project here, so it can see your whole project for this. Stuff. So again, it is trying to figure out a problem, and what it is saying here is that there is you're missing some imports for this. And here's a complete version of your code here. Now, later on, we'll see agent view, and that'll actually make your changes, but in this view, which I actually kind of prefer when I'm learning, it just tells me that. So up here in imports, it is missing some imports. So somewhere up here, I'm just going to add these imports and then try running this again. I don't know why that didn't, why it didn't tell me to do those imports automatically, but it didn't. So again, over on this side, I'm going to go back and hide the preview for now. So again, Gemini is here, and the device manager is here, and then the running device emulator is here. So now I can run this, and again, when I click on it, it'll display the correct die for that. Okay, that's this tutorial. Hope you enjoyed it. Let's stop this.